Episode 103. Wow, cranking along here. And this week we're talking about conversion rate optimization.
Latest Joomla news, design tips, marketing ideas, and interviews with experts in the industry.
Beginner or professional, this podcast is for Joomla enthusiasts.
Welcome to the Joomla Beat podcast with your host, Peter Buey.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Joomla Beat podcast, the podcast all about designing, developing, managing, and marketing your Joomla website. I'm your host, Peter Buey. And this week we're talking about conversion rate optimization. Now, this is continuing on from our last two podcast episodes, initially about inbound marketing and driving clients into a sales process, and that happened in episode 101 and 102. Ryan Osmiak and Eden Brownlee joined me on both of those episodes respectively and talked about their experiences in how they drive clients or customers to a particular process using inbound marketing and then developing sales funnels around that to build up the customer trust and push them through, well, not push them, but nurture them through a process where you can tell them and teach them about the products and services that your business may offer. So this podcast episode, Matthew Hayden joins me on the podcast. He gave a fantastic presentation at Joomla Day Brisbane, and he talked all about optimizing your pages and your websites to get the most out of your traffic and convert it to a lead, a sale, whatever that might be on the particular website. So Matt gives some real awesome gems and goes through the process of how he goes into creating the best return on investment for his customer base in regards to optimizing the conversion rates for everything. It's a really cool podcast episode. So stay tuned, everyone.
Stay tuned as Peter brings his special guest to the table. The Joomla Beat Podcast.
So I'm joined on this podcast with Matt Hayden from Conversion Kings, and we met at Joomla Day Brisbane, where he gave a really interesting, very interesting presentation about conversion rate optimization, something I haven't really touched on before, and I found it quite enlightening, and I'm pretty sure our listeners here are going to get a lot out of it. So Matt, welcome to the podcast.
Yes, thank you. Hi, Peter. Thank you very much for having me on your podcast.
All right. Now, before we get into all this CRO, this new acronym that's out there, could you explain to the listeners a little bit about yourself, what your business is and what it does?
Definitely. So, obviously, the director and founder of Conversion Kings, and we are a CRO, or Conversion Rate Optimisation agency, positioned up here in Brisbane, Australia. And basically what we work on is creating the best user experience on our customers' websites that actually increases their conversions, sales, and profit.
Cool. That's a good way of rounding up. But this whole CRO thing, is that your core business?
Yeah, look, that is the main focus to what we do. There's as you know, there's just so much you can do in digital marketing, as in driving traffic to a website, or generating your email lists, and it is quite wide and varied. Where we really specialise in that whole sort of funnel is where you've got traffic coming to the website, and you want that traffic to convert thing, and the conversion is either a sale or a lead, or someone filling out a form, spending time seeing one of your store locator pages. That's what we really specialise purely on, trying to get your customers to take the action that you would like them to take.
I had no idea that there was a specific niche or market for this conversion rate optimization. I know there's we spoke previously in episode 101. We had Ryan Osmiak talking about lead generations and ladders of engagement and getting people into certain funnels. And then in episode 102, we had Hayden talking about sales funnels and pushing people through the sales funnel process. Now you're even refining that further and taking it into the actual better conversion ratios of each one of those sales funnels. I had no idea there was that fine, granular core business out there that people were making money from.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's look, you know what I really love about conversion rate optimization, and what got me passionate about it in the beginning, is that it's not just a win-win, it's a win-win-win. And by that I mean it's a real win for the consumer. So when they go to a website, they're only going to a website to try and solve their problem. And they're hoping that when they get to your site that you solve the issue that they potentially have, whether it is they're looking to purchase something, they're looking for information, they need to get some information back from you, or they just purely want entertainment. So when they're going to your site, that's what they're searching for. So if we're able to give them the best experience possible on the site, they're going to be happy. They're going to have a really great experience, and it's a win for them. The owner of the site or the owner of the property, it's a win for them as well, because they're now actually getting more revenue per customer, because obviously their customers are doing more of what they want. So they're very happy. They're not having to spend any more money on marketing, but there's no additional money on marketing, but making more sales. And us as an agency, we're winning as well, because basically we're joining all the dots for everybody, and it's such a satisfying feeling coming to work every day knowing just how much money you're making your particular customers. So it's definitely a great industry to be in, and I think that's why it's had such a surgence internationally. Australia, we're a little bit behind the rest of the world in some aspects, and this is one of them. In the US, they're much more advanced than we are over here, as in the uptake of CRO, but Australia is soon catching on.
Okay. So how do you go about optimizing your conversions then? So what's the process? We have a website that's sitting there. Let's say it's a Joomla service business. How do we go about optimizing the leads that are coming from that?
Yeah, so your question is about how are you getting people to take the action on the website that you're wanting them to do. So you've got traffic coming to your site, and you want them to sign up for a particular offer or reason. Is that what you're...
Yeah, so maybe let's say a security audit. So how do you've got the page there, you've got a general information about a security audit for your Joomla website. How do you make more of those people actually sign up on that form? Yeah,
great. So the first thing is to understand your customers and what they're wanting out of the visit to your website. So what is the problem that they're trying to solve? So you might, understanding that someone's coming to your website to fill out a security audit because they may have recently been breached, or they've had a friend of theirs being breached. Maybe not. So they might have different levels of motivation around that. Then once you've been able to identify exactly why they're there and what they're trying to achieve, is then trying to understand why are they not potentially going through and making that conversion. So is there anything on the page which is creating them anxiety? Is there too much friction happening on the page which is making them too hard to do that, too hard to take the action? And some great examples of that could be potentially they're going through and trying to sign up on a mobile device, but the actual way for them to do so is really counterintuitive. It's quite cumbersome, and then obviously they drop it and fall away. The anxiety that they might feel is that when they may potentially had a breach before, they're going on site to put in their details, but they're very anxious about, actually, if I put my details in on this form, will I then maybe attract someone to do a break on my website or breach my website, and therefore I'm having to pay them additional money then to fix it. So
interesting.
There is a psychology component to what's going on here, and it's not purely about flashing lights on a page to go, hey, sign up over here. But it's about really understanding what's driving people to take the action and what's potentially holding them back. So the area that we first start on would be firstly identifying your customer, and that really comes down to how are they coming to the website in relation to device, why are they coming there, like what's their true motivations, and what could be some of their potential anxieties. Then having a look on your actual site itself and seeing how your experience lines up to those few points that you've been able to identify. When you've got a good idea of that, I mean, there are tools out there to help you gain these bits of knowledge and understanding what's happening to these people who are coming to the site. So, on a in a physical sense, like just say if you're a shopkeeper and someone walks into your shop and you're trying to get them to do something like fill out a petition or something like that, you can gauge by their body language of how they're reacting to how you should respond to them, and you can change accordingly. The problem is online is that you can't actually see the people as they're jumping online. They're just there. But there's technologies now that enable you to actually view people's mouse movements that are happening on the page. You can see what they're typing, especially when it comes down to a form, and you can see where they're dropping out, where they're going, what they're looking, what are they scrolling, to get some more information and be able to pinpoint exactly where the problems are. And that's the key point, because once you know where the problems are, then you can start developing strategies and tactics on how to fix them. The problem some people face is that when they see a page and it's maybe not converting the best way, just randomly trying different things to test. That's one way of doing it. It's probably not the most effective. The most effective and efficient way that we've found to do it is firstly identify the problem and then come up with different ways to solve it.
Okay, cool. So identifying the problems, so finding the friction points essentially on the page that is stopping a user from converting, so either mobile, desktop, whatever it happens to be. Now, in that conversation there, you also mentioned understanding the user's needs. Now, how do we actually determine what those needs are? Like, we can estimate or guess what they may be and try and fit our products and services around those guessed needs. But how do we actually determine that to get a really good conversion from the people coming to the websites?
Yeah, and this is where CRO actually becomes really fun, because
all right,
it is. Because obviously you can look at the data. That's one place to look, and that's really obvious. But your question is more about qualitative data, about how do I get into the psyche and understand more about these people. And look, again, this is a very interesting area. So there's a number of ways that we would use, or a number of tactics that you can use to get this information. One is that if you're driving people back to your website from, say, an email list that you're driving people through to. So you've got these people on a particular list and you're pushing them to that landing page. So you can also use that same list to send them a survey and ask them some pretty key questions. And the four main questions that we ask people when we're serving people in a base is what's encouraging you or motivating you to come to the website? What is it that would incentivize you to make an inquiry? What are some of the things which would potentially hold you back? And what would be the biggest question you'd have around whatever your service is? And this is extremely important to do if you have the database. And do you mind if I quickly just share with you a little example I had around this particular point? So we've got a client, and they're a florist here in Brisbane, and one of the biggest business questions they had was around delivery. And they're thinking, you know what, we have to offer free delivery. We have to offer free delivery. If we don't offer free delivery, we're not going to be competitive. We did a survey out to their customer base, and we asked them about, some key, those four questions that I mentioned before. And the very last one was, what's your biggest question you've got around home delivered flowers? And we did gear them up hoping and thinking that it was going to be around delivery, because then obviously having a delivery offer is a pretty easy thing to solve. But the answers that came back was fascinating. What came back was that they were really concerned with how long would actually delivered flowers last in the Queensland heat.
Interesting.
Because they're not paying $10 from flowers that they pick up at Coles. They're spending between $80 to $150 on these flowers. So the messaging that we put for the client wasn't around free delivery, but it was for the fact that actually she's got a state-of-the-art cool room and all her delivery trucks are refrigerated. And then spreading that message actually had an increase in conversion, because people's anxieties around, if I spend $120, are these actually going to last any longer than 2-3 days? I want to obviously get some longevity out of my purchase. So surveys are very important, and they can come up with that key bits of information. But how would I know that? How would you know that? By just looking at the data, you would never know without asking them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's other tactics you can use, like entry surveys that you can use when people come to the website. There's technologies that'll you can set to actually ask people if they would mind to take a phone call from someone, where you can ask them a series of questions. You can obviously survey people on the site through obviously pop-up surveys. I think Qualaroo does a pretty good job of that as well. So there are a number of ways to ask people about when they've come to the website, why they come to the website, and what are they looking to achieve.
Very interesting. And you're finding good success rates in regards to actually getting people to fulfill and fill in, supply the information in those surveys. I know when they pop up for me, I just ignore. So obviously there are people that are there to fill in those forms. Do you dangle a carrot in front of them or something?
Look, you got to be careful with that, because you might be hedging the defined anyway. So people think that, if I get the chance to win a movie ticket voucher or a gold class ticket voucher, I better give them a good score or a good feedback. So you've got to be careful by doing that, yeah. And a lot of it does come down to numbers. So, I mean, if you've got like maybe 20 people come to your site a month, it's going to be really tough. But, if you do have decent amount of traffic, you are going to have a slow amount of people filter in it and give you that feedback. So it is a matter of having a number of different ways to actually get that information. The other way you can do it, and we've found it to be so successful, and actually one of the key differences in our agency and why we are able to get the results that we get, is that we actually go ahead and purchase or actually live an experience of the customers for ourselves. So we get as close as we can to the market. So we also have a diverse range of people that work in the business, and whoever's closest to the target market, or if we need to, we'll recruit somebody, but we actually get them to what is required for that client. So we've got one client that sells push bikes, so we went online and actually made a purchase of. And it's not just about getting on there and just quickly, racing through the shopping cart process, but it's a matter of actually getting on there and going, I'm spending, $600 a month here. This, you become very invested in it, and then
it's a lot of money.
It is, but it's a. Then you go through the normal emotions as a normal customer. So things where you wouldn't go, look, I'll just make a purchase because it's just what I need to do. But it's like, well, hang on a second, what bike is going to be the right size for me? And then it becomes a really important purchase, not just you're just overlooking it and just going through the motions. So I guess if you're unable to get to qualitative research and those other tactics we mentioned before, the best thing I've ever asked someone is to get someone to actually go and shop the site and put in their details and really walk in the shoes of the customer.
Wow, so you really have to understand your customer and what they're after on the website, the type of information. Like that example there of the push bike, mountain bike, whatever it is, size, gears, the purpose that it's used for, etc. So yeah, I could see you need to really understand your customer and provide them all the information that they would want in that sales process. That's tough. Yeah. That's a lot of work. I can see why you guys are so busy.
Yeah. It's actually really enjoyable work. So it's not where it's one of the ones where you just really need to focus in on it. And I guess this is where we help people because, if you're running your business, you've got 1,000,001 things to do. And then to sit down and spend half a day to go through and shop your site or recruit people and then, run sort of very small little focus groups within a lab on your site, it's hard to find that time. Hence why, people are obviously reaching out to services like us to help them out.
Okay. All right. So we've now got survey and some data from our users. We have come up with a couple of ideas in regards to what we could possibly change on the website to make it better. Now, if we come up with a whole bunch of ideas in terms of tweaks and colors and design layout and changes, how do we actually go about measuring and testing this with the traffic that's coming to the website?
Yeah, sure. I mean, like the other step in between that, however, is okay. Really valid. Is actually validating it with data. So we might come up with a hypothesis, and that hypothesis is, people are coming to the website to fill out the request a security check of their website, but we feel that they're getting anxious with some of the words or the copy we're using, and so what we would look at there is we'd go, okay, so what data can we have that is actually going to support my hypothesis? And that could be, in this scenario, it might be actually around bounce, because we're finding people are getting to the page, they're landing on that page, up and down, and then they're moving out, so they're bouncing. So what we can see there is, okay, if we look in the data and we notice that, wow, look, your bounce is like 60%, 70%, that could be true. So what we would then look at is then go, okay, if that is a potential, we've identified that as a problem, then we would come up with ways to actually solve them. And then there's a variety of different ways you could solve that particular problem. So someone might come up with, I believe it's got to do with the main headline because we feel that, we're scaring people too much with the headline. That's why they're bouncing. Or someone might say that, actually, we're not showing any security seals on our website. And someone might say that, look, we're using Comic Sans font so people aren't taking us seriously, for example, right? So we've got all these different hypotheses, and then the question is, who was right? And this is where the concept of A/B testing really, really helps. And that's where basically you create different variations of the website. So one variation will have a different headline, one variation will have a different font, another one will have will have security seals. And then what you do is once you've created those different variations, the traffic that comes to your website gets split up equally to those different variations, and you can track their performance. And previously, to do that was very difficult when it came down to having to use dev and tech resources to be able to do that. And a couple of days we used to actually create different pages completely, and then segment the traffic to each page.
Wow, that sounds time consuming.
It is, and it's on every end, from dev and going through the UAT process, getting it up and running, and then obviously the tracking. But there's technologies out there now which are very much plug and play, and the technology out there called Optimizely. And what that basically enables you to do is that you can actually run a lot of A/B testing without some very simple A/B testing without tech support. So after you've loaded the snippet up on the website, it then enables you to create different variations, and it will then split the traffic and then record the data back for you.
Okay, so just to get a little bit more technical here, so we're uploading snippets of like JavaScript or something onto the page, and that will load different like headline text. Is that what it does?
Oh, it's even simpler than that. So basically, all you're doing is putting one little bit of JavaScript in the head tag of the website, within the header of the website. And what it's doing is and then it has its interface where it's like a WYSIWYG editor or a code editor, where you're able to go in there and create different variations literally by dropping and dragging, right-clicking and changing all the text in there. And it's fundamental, if you're looking at more of a technical perspective, what it's basically doing is just adjusting the CSS for each particular user that's coming to the website.
Whoa. I thought it was so much more complicated. Like you had to put in all these different modules for a Joomla site, put in modules, use different components, set up different pages. But literally just a bit of JavaScript in the head and you can edit on the fly on the page and make your different versions.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That sounds incredibly easy. Now,
it is. Yep.
Yeah. So we're coming up with these hypotheses and trying to come up with ways of or different versions of the pages and tweaks that we can do. So we're splitting the traffic now, A, B, one version for X amount of traffic, another version for another certain amount of traffic. Can you have more than just two versions? Like everyone says split A/B testing, but can you do more than just A/B?
Yeah. I mean, like you can definitely, there's a number of different ways you can do it. So you can do A, B, C, D. If you like, you can have a multitude of different variations. You can do pros and cons to that. The pros is obviously you get, a lot more variations you can test, which is a win. But the problem is that you need more traffic to validate having all those different variations.
I see.
Because if you have too many variations, you're going to need a lot more traffic, which is fine. But then if you don't have that much traffic, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to what we call statistical significance. And what that means is at significance is when you can actually go, the result that I'm actually getting out of my analytics is true. So I've asked enough people within my sample size to know that that the outcome that you've got is actually a real statistic and it's a real number. It's not like a false positive or a false negative. So you've got your A, B and however many variations you want. The other type of testing you can do is what we call AAB testing.
Interesting.
Yep, this one helps where you're wanting to validate that the results you're getting is also true. So this is where you create, you've got your control, which is the website as it is, and then you create another variation, which is exactly the control. There's no difference whatsoever, and then another variation. And what you would do with that is you're actually using the variation A to make sure that the results you're getting out of the test is definitely true. So because the thinking around that is that there's no difference between the control and variation A, so really they should be exactly the same.
Yeah, I see.
So it's a way to look at that. The other type of testing is what we call is multivariate testing. And this is a pretty awesomely cool type testing. You need a lot of traffic for it, but it's great. It's what we would use a lot. We use this a lot in e-commerce websites where we're potentially testing. We're doing like a multi-page test, and that's where you've got someone that might come in to a site on a product display page, and you might give them a certain experience, give them a certain type of variation, let's call it variation A. When they go through to then the cart page, we serve them up a completely different cart as well. So then we're giving them, as they go through their actual journey, we're actually serving up different pages. And what's cool with multivariate testing is that you can change a number of different elements on a page or within pages, and what the system will do will be randomly showing people different combinations. So if we think about just one page and we've got 3 different headlines we want to change, we've got 2 different images, and we've got 2 different calls to action, what it might do is for visitor A, it might show headline 1, image 2 and call to action 1. And then it'll go through all different variations to see at the end of the day what combination of headline, image, and call to action actually gets. Yeah, which is cool.
That's intense. So how much traffic is a lot of traffic for something like that?
There is a few other things to keep in mind other than statistical significance, which is minimal detectable effect, which has another change to that. But if you're looking for a simple answer, and also depending on the base conversion rate, you would be looking at a simple A/B test. Sometimes we're looking at, I don't know, if the baseline, the conversion is about 3%, you're looking at a minimum of, say, 7,000 people through each variation. If you've got two variations, like control and variation one, that's 14,000 people through to make that valid. And then multivariate testing, if you've got, that it could potentially spin out over 20 different variations because of all the different combinations. And you just got to think about 20 different combinations times 7,000 users per variation is a lot. That's about 140,000 people we need to get through this test before we can make it significant. So it does vary, and there's great calculators online that can help you work out exactly what those numbers should be.
Very interesting indeed. So you probably do this more on a website where you have already sorted out your online sales process, your sales funnel, and you're generating a bit of traffic as it is already.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very common question. People go horse and cart. So when do I focus on conversion optimization? Do I focus it on when I've got a lot of traffic coming to my website, because then I can get statistical significance? Or do I look at it before I start investing all this money on marketing? Because if I'm going to go and spend $5,000 on marketing, I want to get, say, $30,000 return. But if I've got my converted, I can go and spend $5,000, but then get $60,000 back. So there is that question between horse and cart. Which one do you want to when do you want to focus on it?
Yeah, tough call there. Tough call. I guess it depends on your budgets as well, and how much money the clients have to actually go forth with that. Now, when do you actually stop this process of split A/B testing, or is this just a continuous process that just keeps on going and going?
Yeah, look, it comes down to, even touching a little bit on the last point, is at what point does it not become viable for you? So you want to, the way that we generally work it is we will keep working with the client, but if it gets to a point where we're not making the client more money than what they're spending with us, it makes really no sense, unless their goals are different than pure revenue. If it's purely about, their goals might not be about revenue, it might be about, maintaining market share or so there's a few different caveats to that. But generally it is an ongoing process. Most of our clients that we started with are still with us. So it is, so as long as you can keep making them more money, people are generally happy to stay and keep doing it.
Wow, this is a lot to take in, and I'm hoping all the listeners are taking down notes furiously here and taking in everything that you're saying. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier a tool called Optimizely. Could you talk a little bit more about that and how you're involved with Optimizely?
Yeah, for sure. So, actually, Optimizely was one of the main motivators for myself opening the agency, because I love doing A/B testing. And but the problem that I used to hate doing with A/B testing is having to go through the devs or the tech guys to try and get things up and running, because they've got so much stuff on their plate. The last thing they want to do is put their tools down and help me with one of my tests I want to get going. So I had a problem where I had to actually run a test, and I was looking around online, and I actually literally just stumbled across it, and I thought, wow, this is the solution to all my problems.
You've struck gold.
That's what, exactly.
Struck oil.
I'm like, wow, this is awesome. So I put a test together, and then got it up and running, the basic test. Got some great results out of it, and it was easy to do. And so since then, Optimizely is also, when I saw Optimizely, they'd only been going for probably about 2 years. Now they're by far the market leader when it comes to A/B testing software, which is fantastic. But their tool has also expanded leaps and bounds since I originally got involved with it. So, the great thing is, Optimizely, they have free plans out there for everyone. If you want to, you can go online, download it, and put it into your site and start running some tests for free. So it's a fantastic piece of equipment. Where Optimizely really are positioning itself is more on the enterprise side of online, and that's obviously where we jump in to help people. There's many agencies out there that are supporting Optimizely, and what Optimizely do though is that they do give every agency a ranking of how, based on their technical capabilities, the results that they've got, and the number of clients within their under their umbrella. And we're really proud to say that of the ranking, it goes up to 3 stars, and we are the only 3-star Optimizely partner in Australia, and one of the top 10 international partners as well. Yeah, so it's
pretty cool.
Well, it's definitely a great accolade, and we're really proud of it. But the technology Optimizely, again, it's an absolutely fantastic piece, and I really do recommend, if you are thinking about A/B testing, go to Optimizely, sign up. Like I said, it's free. Download it, put it up into your site, and give it a go.
Absolutely fantastic. Right now, how do people find you, Matt? Like, what's your website links? Are you on social media? How do people find you to follow you and learn more about A/B testing and Optimizely?
Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously, if you go to conversionkings.com.au. There's our website there. If you're in Brisbane, we do run the CRO meetup, which we run every month. So you're more than welcome to come around to our we generally have it in the office because we've got a bar there. So come around, have some drinks, have something to eat. And
I've seen photos of your bar.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. It's all like tropical, like... what do you call it? Like cabana kind of theme?
It's a little tiki bar.
Yeah, that's it, tiki bar.
Yeah, but we've been getting into the Scotch of late as well. So we're getting a bit of top shelf Scotch behind it. So So if you're in Brisbane, feel free to join yourself to the CRO meetup and come by. I can also myself be reached pretty easily on LinkedIn. So if you're ever looking for us on LinkedIn, feel free to reach out, and always happy to help out wherever we can.
Fantastic. I'll grab all those links off you and make sure I put them up in the show notes as well so people can easily find you. Fantastic, Matt. A huge wealth of knowledge there, and thank you so much for sharing all of that.
No worries, Peter. Thank you so much for having me on. Great.
Thanks. We'll have you on again soon.
Thanks, mate.
Looking for more Joomla tips and industry news? Joomla.at. Web hosting by SiteGround.
All right. So there's quite a lot there. That was a huge amount. And over the last 3 episodes, I really do hope that the amount of information in regards to creating a sales funnel, inbound marketing, and conversion rate optimization really ties in together to really help boost sales, boost traffic, and do a whole lot of really cool things for your businesses or for your clients that you're doing things for. I really think this is the future of the web and where a lot of things are going at the moment, not just the design, dev, the responsive, the mobile stuff, but really thinking about the personas, the users of the website, and how and what they're after to try and get the most out of their online experiences. So I really think this is where everything is going at the moment. And Ryan, Eden, and Matthew have given a whole lot of information in regards to this. And hopefully you've been taking notes and listening very attentively over the last 3 episodes. Now, next week, I'll be talking a little bit about personas and how you actually craft these people or work out who is actually using your website and how they're using it and working out your target markets, etc. So make sure you tune in for that. But if you have any experience or if you've had a little bit of a play around in regards to conversion rate optimization on your own websites, I would love to hear about it, and I would love to hear your experiences on the show notes for this podcast episode. And you can do that by going to joomla.be.at/EP Ep103. And that would take you directly to the show notes for this podcast episode where you can leave a comment and engage with the rest of the community there. Okay, now I'll leave it at that. So until next time, everyone, please keep your website safe and secure and make sure you keep them backed up. Bye.
You've been listening to the Joomla Beat podcast, bringing together the community of designers, developers, fans, and users from around the globe. Joomla Beat. Joomla Beat.at